comparison here.
Okay,
I
hold
can
up.
see that. Okay.
Hold up.
Now we're cooking.
Tell me what happened with Osiris. Why'd they dice him up? What happened?
The story of Osiris is he has this. I don't know if he's his brother or if it's just like his eternal rival, but it's Set. Set represents like the darkness. Osiris represents the light. He's
like Tetsuo in Canada.
Kinda, yeah. But like in the myth, Set dismembers Osiris, chops him up into 14 pieces. But that 14th piece is his phallus. A fish eats it. So then Isis, who, you know how mythology goes, it's like his sister, but it's either his mother or sister, but it's also his wife. It's
right.
Like, there's some sort of relationship there, but also they're together.
Yeah.
And she's like this goddess of magic and stuff like that. So she like brings his pieces together. That's where you get this symbolism of Osiris being mummified because he was cut up, he was killed, he was brought together. Then she constructs him a magical pure gold phallus, which is like that's the obelisk.
Yes.
And dope too.
Yeah. And then but it's really secret symbolism for, masculine archetypal, creative energy.
Yeah.
She brings him back from the dead. That's why Osiris has this phoenix symbolism because he rises from the dead. But it's also symbolic of the soul reincarnating.
Oh, yeah.
Being eternal. That's what the Ankh means.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, yeah, I could kind of see that. Like she brings his pieces together and brings them back from the dead.
Yeah, I see that parallel. I mean, in the movie,
I wouldn't discredit it.
No.
Especially
we know with these kinds of directors and these kinds of projects, like they're already packed with such occult symbolism and concepts, and it only makes sense.
I mean, they showed you the golden god statue. It wasn't like this is Mercury or this is, Pluto or Poseidon or whatever. It was just like a golden god statue, which to me is just like this is mythological symbolism.
Right. It may have even been meant to be vague.
Right.
Because
I'm thinking.
It's just the broad concept. It's not like they're not trying to draw you into a specific.
They're not saying this is Kabbalah, this is Hermeticism. They're just saying it's about awakening.
Yeah.
It's about all of it. It's about you could call it more New Age or whatever, but it's all connected. And like you start to get into dialogue towards the very end when all this finale is popping off, which we're like kind of in that part now, where you find out. Long story short, Akira's body parts are all separated in these vials, but his body is preserved. They find them.
Yeah, those parts are preserved. Those pieces.
Right.
Yeah.
It's in pieces.
Right.
Like eyeballs, nervous system, organs, yada yada yada.
And by the way, these vials are locked down in the most like gridlock security system on the planet.
It's like a ice, like sub-zero, like huge hyper security max vault, like deep underground.
Yeah, like whatever.
Like doesn't exist Black Ops type thing.
Yeah. Like whatever you can imagine is the most like clandestine, like hidden underground. Like it's like that.
Yeah.
And Tetsuo gets in there pretty easy.
He just rips it apart, blows everything up, and finds him, and he's like, "What? He's not even a person." He's like disappointed or whatever.
Right.
So at this point, there's some dialogue between the scientist and the general.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and it should
be the colonel.
It should be said that at this point, Tetsuo is creating like such a ruckus, like destroying the city that
they're like evacuating the entire city.
They're evacuating the city. They're sending the military after him. I mean, they're trying to kill him.
It's like cataclysmic.
Yeah, and then also Kaneda and their other friends are coming after him too,
right?
To try to just like stop whatever's happening.
Like talk sense into him. Or
like Tetsuo and Kaneda, they like butt heads throughout the whole movie, but you can tell they like really care about each other. They want to take care of each other, but they're like rivals at the same time.
Yeah.
And so, Kaneda's trying to just show up and just stop whatever's happening. He doesn't know what's happening. He's just trying to stop it.
He's like, well, if anyone should kill him and in this, it should be me because I'm his friend.
Exactly.
Not the military. Like, I would rather do it.
He did say that.
He felt responsible for him. So he was trying to gun him down with a laser gun. Like some secret military laser gun. Yeah. But there's some dialogue at this point that I thought was profoundly interesting. I didn't get to finish the movie yesterday because just stuff was happening, and the first time I watched it was about a month ago, so this is from memory. But the dialogue was something to the effect of they were explaining, I can't remember, I believe it was the scientist or it was even the colonel explaining to, might have been Kaneda, it was just other characters while all this stuff was happening. And it was essentially like, how is this possible? What's happening? What's awakening? And they start going on this rant like, imagine that every piece of life that exists today all came from the same infinite energy in the Big Bang. And when that happened, billions of years ago, all of that information has been constantly evolving throughout all life. So the knowledge of the original infinite energy of the Big Bang is encoded within your DNA to evolve towards higher cosmic consciousness. So it's basically explaining through the dialogue what's happening. It's like as above, so below.
And it's the scientist saying these things,
right.
Correct? And like,
or the current, I can't remember the character.
I'm pretty sure it was the scientist, and like that's scientifically like backed up. Like in our DNA is the entire history of consciousness.
Right.
Like
we come from the stars too. Like the physical elements in our body are only possible because of the stars.
We are quite literally made of star matter. Like the same things that create everything in the universe create us, as above, so below. Look up in the sky. You see those big, crazy ball planets. Like, you are the same thing. You're literally made out of the same thing, which is essentially...
But also metaphorically the child.
The child of those things?
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yes,
like
absolutely.
From a scientific perspective.
And then there's another layer to this concept of as above, so below, because it's like, if those things are evolving and those things are changing, then we internally are changing and evolving as well. Like, as our matter evolves, our consciousness has to evolve.
Or our star stuff.
Yeah. I like that. Our star stuff.
That's what Carl Sagan said, I believe. We're made of star stuff.
I love
It's like one of his very famous quotes. I'm pretty sure it was Carl Sagan.
That's too epic. Yeah, and another important thing to mention about this scientist character is like he's technically working on behalf of like the military and the government. Like they've hired him to like...
But he's pure. He just wants the exploration. He wants the knowledge. Like he's not a bad guy.
Exactly. Like while all of this crazy cataclysm is happening in the middle of Tokyo, he stayed there. Right. He stayed there to study and to see, because he's genuinely, his major concern is just like getting the data. Like he wants to figure out what we need to do to evolve human consciousness. That's why he's there. So there's an interesting parallel there, because like, what if that's happening in the real world?
It is.
I know. I'm trying to be coy about it. I know.
But we're wrapping up. We've got a little bit of time left, and we're about to end the movie. I was going to get into some of that.
Bet.
But so
stay tuned.
So here's the finale. Yes, here's the finale. So Tetsuo starts awakening so much and so rapidly that it's beyond his control, and his body, like his singular reality starts to break down, even like within the collective. Like now everybody is seeing him morph into this horrific, abominable mutant monster.
Which, by the way, yes, he starts mutating rapidly and becoming a giant flesh disgusting monster, which is the way I took that, is his consciousness is evolving so quickly that his matter is trying to keep up. Yeah. And it doesn't know what to do.
It's breaking reality.
Yeah, it's just going completely berserk.
Do you remember what he turns into? A giant, a baby.
A baby, yeah.
2001: A Space Odyssey. They become a space baby. After, you know how it goes. After they go through the portal and awaken to the next level of consciousness. I thought there was a parallel there.
Oh man,
there has to be.
And we'll talk about.
That movie felt like it had some Kubrick style shots.
No doubt.
Like when it shows the facility, the way that it was just like ominously panning on structures and certain things. And anyway, so Tetsuo begins to awaken so much that it's like he can't even control it anymore. It's like killing everything around him.
Yeah.
These little psychic kids show up. They shatter the vials that Akira was in, and like with it being out of that fluid that was like containing and preserving the his body parts.
His body parts. Yeah.
They start to come together, and this white light starts appearing. Akira starts awakening, and his body is like reforming rapidly. And then you see him appear in this strange form where he's like not fully human. He's kind of like glowing red, sort of.
Yeah.
You know?
He's like this child body, but he's like glowing.
And it's like that's the image that was being flashed into Tetsuo's mind earlier in the beginning of the movie. So he starts awakening, and then the nuclear explosion starts happening. Just like in 1988, it starts happening, and it's like, oh my God, there's this whole scene of like they're trying to rush to get out of it.
It's like the big reveal that what actually happened in 1988 was Akira awakening, and now it's happening again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's high. It's crazy.
So the scientist, this was what I thought was so cool. The scientist, he's on his computer. His eyes are wide. He's like, I don't understand. The energy of the Big Bang is present right here in front of us. And it's like, I think that's them telling you it's like as above, so below, the macrocosm and the microcosm. Like
he even said
the creation is the same as the destruction, the beginning and the end, the alpha and the omega.
Yeah, he even said like his energy is creating a new universe.
Right.
He's creating
it's
a
the
new
energy of the Big Bang. A new universe a pocket universe is being created.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think how it resolves is they kind of like pull Tetsuo in, and then the other characters escape. And the last shot of the movie was Tetsuo being pulled into that ascension, and he awakens to that level. Even though he took the dark path, he still ended up on Akira's, like being benevolent. And the last line of the movie was, "I am Tetsuo."
Which is
it's like when Moses spoke to the bush. What, he's speaking to this voice God. Like, what should I tell the people your name is? And he just said, "I am."
I am.
Yeah, I am Tetsuo. He became a god.
Which is so wild. And I really also want to talk about that whole, like, he took kind of the left-hand path, but he still made it in the end.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about that too. So that's how the movie ends. That kind of ties up the entire movie. And now we can dive into some other stuff. Like what I was